Okay, I have my workspace all set up. I have my bucket of water. I have my paints. I have a quarter sheet of paper. I'm gonna need a pencil. And this is what we're gonna create today. We're gonna do a monochromatic fruit. So the words are mono, which means one, and chroma, which is colors. So you have monochromatic means one color. Now, if you notice by looking at mine, it's really not one color. It's dominantly green, but I've used blue as my shadow, so that makes it a blue-green. And then I've used yellow as a highlight, but it's still green with yellow in it. Because if you think about when you go to Home Depot and you pick out your paint chips, there's a wall of greens, a wall of blues, there's all these different colors, and they all have little slightly different pigments in them. So all the different greens could have different variations with more yellow and more blue in them. Same thing applies here. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a fruit. So I'm gonna draw this pear. Now you can draw exactly what I did, and you can follow along and copy, or you can challenge yourself. Find an image. This is gonna be my shadow on the ground. Find an image either on the internet or go up to your fridge or your counter bowl and pull out a fruit. Okay, so notice I was able to sketch that. It's not exactly the same. It's actually a little bit bigger, but it's okay. It resembles a fruit. It doesn't have to be exact. And you want to be able to do that drawing in 3 minutes at the most. I mean, it probably took me like 30 seconds. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a wash. So a wash is a lot of water and a little bit of paint. So use whatever your largest brush is. So in your kit you have this one. If you're at home and you want to try this almost might be too big. It's good for the middle, but I don't have much control at the edge, so I'm gonna go back to my small one. Okay, so I've painted all the way around. All right, just to keep things a little interesting, instead of using the same colors, I'm gonna vary it a little bit, and I'm gonna do like this orangey goldish color. All right, in order to activate your watercolor, you just add a bunch of water and roll your brush around. You don't want to jam your brush into the watercolor. You're not trying to scoop it up, you're just gliding over the top of it, and you can start to see how now it's not just water on top, but I'm mixing that water and the paint. All right, this is gonna be my base color. So, ooh, it's pretty. So this base color, I'm gonna color the whole pear, and I'm working fast. I have to work fast because I don't want the water to dry out. Okay, I got the base. Whoops, I went outside the lines a little bit, no big deal. All right, so now I'm gonna use this color. It's a little bit of a softer, mixing better. Okay, I'm gonna use that as my highlight. And since it's rounded, I have this highlight that kind of wraps around like that. Okay, so kind of picking up the same thing this here. If you have an image that you're copying from the internet, you can look up monochromatic fruit. You can look up a picture of fruit. If you have something in front of you, you want to look at the light source, right? So I have a light coming in. Imagine the light is like a sun, and the sun is shining and is hitting one spot. Now, if it's coming on this side, that means that this side is going to have a shadow. So I'm going to use this red color as my shadow, and I feel like this red is going to be strong. I'm going to test it out over here. It's not that strong. Okay. It's pretty soft. Okay, that's way too weird though. Like, it has a hard line, but that's okay, I'm not done. Okay, now I'm gonna pull it towards the middle, kind of letting my brush be a little wispy, like I'm lifting it up as I go. Okay, now I'm gonna go back into my main color, push that main color into the red, so now they're blending together. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the middle. It's a lot of back and forth. All right, still feel like that shadow's not enough. So I'm gonna come back in and like really add a nice shadow over here on the underneath side. Again, too hard of a line. Kind of pull that edge. It's always better to go darker than lighter. In watercolor, you can't go lighter, and there is no white. There is no white. All right, so I have a nice shadow. I have the base color. I have my highlight. I'm gonna add, see if I can add a little bit more highlight. It's not as obvious as this one. I'm gonna leave that a little thicker. All right, and then I'm gonna add, as this is three-dimensional and starts to wrap around towards the back side, I have, oops, too much. I have a little pigment there on that back side there. So it's not white, the lightest color right over there. All right, the last thing you need to do is switch over to a skinny brush and be careful of how much water. So that's why I have a paper towel. I'm gonna dry off my brush and I'm gonna go with my base color. And add that stem. Now I might have like a little bit of a shadow here at the top. And then again, soften that out. All right, actually pretty looks like a plum. Okay, I'm gonna use this darker color, just the very last thing. I did not do wet into wet here. I'm gonna create this shadow as the fruit comes down onto the table and then there's a shadow underneath it. It's the darkest color that you have, that you've been using, keeping with your monochromatic. Okay, so it may not be totally realistic based on the colors that you chose, but that's okay. All right, we are done. We made a monochromatic fruit.